You're taking on anti-Semitism in schools in a big way. And Congressman, we're so thrilled that you're really stepping up. I mean, today it's unbelievable. The president, it is nothing. The president has been saying nothing. John Kirby, the spokesperson, says, oh, it's wrong what's going on campuses. Where's the moral leadership? And I'm glad that you and Richie Torres are pitching a bill together, to try to crack down at least. Tell us about it.
No question, Rita. We've seen from a number of leading Democrats either silence or just total weakness in the face of these protesters, in large part because they're concerned about their electoral prospects and the impact this will have on the presidential election in states like Michigan and Minnesota. But it's really unconscionable what's happening. What Columbia University and its president, President Shafiq, have allowed to happen is really disgraceful. These students, part of the participation trophy generation, they've never been told no, and they've never dealt with consequences, and there needs to be. And so I've introduced a number of bills, including one that we're voting on tomorrow, the Antisemitism Awareness Act, which will require the Department of Education to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism and all of its contemporary examples for its discrimination actions. As well as the Columbia Act, which Richie Torres and I just introduced, which will, allow the Department of Education to appoint monitors to these universities where anti-Semitism is running rampant and crack down on it. And, they are in jeopardy of losing federal dollars if they don't end these anti-Semitic protests that are happening on their campuses.
By the way, a lot of schools, like one of the schools I saw today, is getting like $50 million. For what? When you look at the fact that, and look at what's going on in Columbia now. I mean, are you just shaking your head that this is happening in America, let alone New York?
Look, the leader of this protest called for death to Zionists. You have people chanting for the eradication of Israel, telling Jews on campus to go back to Poland, calling for the final solution as outlined by Hitler. It is disgusting. It is disgraceful. And frankly, it's criminal. And what you're seeing now at Columbia with these students that have taken siege of the library, as I said to President Shafiq last week when we met with her, you have a responsibility to act. This is not up for debate or negotiation. You have to ensure the safety and well-being of all students on your campus. It's why I called on her to resign, because she has allowed this to happen on the campus of Columbia with no consequence. And she gave multiple deadlines that these, pro-Hamas agitators blew right past, again, with no consequence. Back in 1969, President Hesburgh of Notre Dame issued a letter to students and faculty in which, in sum and substance, he said, protest is fine. You have the right to do it. But the moment it turns violent physically or verbally, you lose that right. You will have 15 minutes to cease and desist. If you don't, you will face suspension, expulsion, and or arrest. And that is the bottom line. There needs to be consequences.
Craig Eaton.
Hey, Mike, good to talk to you. But you know what? There are no consequences. And I'm glad to see that you're the voice of reason in Congress. But, this whole thing started out, Israel was attacked by Hamas. I can't believe how this has grown into such an anti-Israeli movement now. I mean, Hamas, no one should be supporting anything that Hamas did in Gaza. It's crazy.
You have Hamas last week endorsing these college protesters, calling them the future leaders of America. If this is the future leadership of America, God help us, because we will be in grave danger as a country. These people are espousing anti-American rhetoric, belief. They have subscribed to an ideology that supports the beheading of innocent women, children,
it's babies. Savage. It's savage what they did.
Absolutely. It was a barbaric slaughtering of Jews. And they're embracing this.
Yeah. You know what? Did you see Congressman Lawler, by the way, did you see University of Southern California, I went to University of South Carolina. That's why it's on the tip of my tongue. But University of South California, they have a jumbotron right outside where the protests are, and they're playing that October 7th GoPro video of the Hamas, what they actually did, because they want those students to realize what happened on October 7th and for them to really look at it and say, you're supporting this? I think every college campus should have that so they see what they are actually endorsing.
Yesterday morning, Jared Moskowitz, a Democrat from Florida, and I went and toured the Nova exhibition down on Wall Street, right across from 40 Wall Street, and saw the remnants, the tents, the clothing, the shoes, the bar, the stage that was used at Nova, at the concert. That's hundreds of innocent Israelis and Americans were slaughtered and killed and kidnapped from. You see the videos, of the GoPro videos on display, and you see the terror that these innocent people experienced. You relive it. It is extremely powerful. I strongly encourage all of you and your listeners to go visit this exhibition down at Wall Street to really get a understanding of what occurred on October 7th and why it is so imperative that Israel defend itself. And people can protest, they can object to policy decisions of the Israeli government, but that's not what this is. This is a deep-seated hatred of Jews that we are seeing on these college campuses. It's been going on for years, but it has been exacerbated in the aftermath of October 7th.
Mike, it's Richard Weinberg. The amazing thing to me is that the victims were the Israelis. The victims were people from other countries who were in Israel. And this is totally inverted. The act is if the victims are the people of Palestine who supported Hamas overwhelmingly in elections and supported this act of terrorism on October 7th. It makes your eyes bleed and your head explode.
Look, I've said repeatedly, I want the innocent Palestinian people to be free from their oppressor. Their oppressor is Hamas. Israel is not an apartheid state. It is the only multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic democracy in the Middle East. And if these folks want a ceasefire, the fastest way for that to occur is for Hamas to surrender and the hostages to be released. And if they can't bring themselves to call for that, they are an absolute abomination.
Greg Eaton.
Congressman, where can you tell our listeners where they can go? You said 40 Wall Street. Where can they go to see this?
It's right down across from the Trump building, down on Wall Street, and right next to where the stock exchange is. So
okay.
Where they filmed The Dark Knight, the movie, there's that scene down at Wall Street. It's right in that location.
Wow.
But if you look it up, Nova
okay.
Exhibition.
Nova
down
Exhibition.
Wall Street.
Okay. No, that's great. I think every listener should go down there.
Every protester needs to see it.
Yeah.
Mike Lawler, heads up. There's news around, and that nobody wants to really talk about it yet. Saudi Arabia is about to make peace with Israel again, and that's what started the whole war. It really ticked off Iran, and that's Iran paid Hamas to go and attack Israel. What's going to happen now?
This is critical. If there is to be long-term peace and shared prosperity in the Middle East, it requires Israel and Saudi Arabia to normalize relations. It's why the very first bill that I got passed and signed into law was to create the special envoy for the Abraham Accords to focus specifically on normalizing relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. So this is important. I think Saudi Arabia understands the importance of it. They are going to be critical as we move forward in dealing with the aftermath in Gaza and trying to rebuild and ultimately have, hopefully, a government in Gaza and the West Bank that does support not just the Palestinian people, but engages in peace with Israel. And Saudi Arabia is going to be key to that.